Okay, but like for real though, why does it not resort when I click? That makes no sense. Hi, my name is Chris and welcome back to another .NET Maui video. In today's video, I figured what I would do is show you all the plan for how I'm going to build this app. This is kind of the steps I go through when I think about these kinds of things. And then we'll talk about some of the code that I've written since last video. And then I would like to talk through some of the frustrating parts that I've encountered, or at the very least things that I think didn't work as intuitively as I would have wanted them to. I guess I have this expectation of when I'm using these type of frameworks, the whole point I'm buying into your framework system is that you do all these things magically for me. And obviously Maui does some things magically. I'm not, not discounting that. But there are some things that I'm like, why does this not work? But other things like this do. So we'll talk about some of that. I just want to walk you guys through the code and show you where it's at. As always, if you would like this code, every time when I'm working on this stuff, I am committing to the Github repo down below, and you can always pull that code there. I have no qualms about what you do with it. Don't care. Just, don't do bad stuff with it. But I just, the whole point of me writing this code is to kind of provide informational stuff for people that are trying to learn these things. If you take that code, do what you want with it. Really, I'm not even trying to show you the best way to do things, because by God, that's not what I know. But I am just trying to provide examples, show you little things that I did to get around some problems, that type of stuff. So, and who knows, maybe at the end when we have a kind of a semi-functioning app, we'll put it out and see what happens. But that might be a minute. So, if all that sounds good to you, let's dig in. Okay. So let's dig into a little bit of the work I've done since last video, just to kind of walk you through it again. All the source code's down there. But if you can grab the source code, but if you don't know what's going on, you may need some help. So that's kind of what the point of this section is. Actually, this kind of all started where I was like earlier in the week, I think I was streaming actually, and I was looking at the Walmart API and was kind of annoyed that it's really more focused on people that are trying to sell on walmart.com versus, for instance, an app developer trying to get information about Walmart store inventories. So that was pretty frustrating. At first I thought, oh, well, I'm screwed. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this app, because what are the chances that another store has this kind of stuff? Turns out Kroger to the rescue. A little bit of a flashbang warning. This is in light mode, so apologies if you're laying in bed at night, but this is the Kroger API docs, and it's actually, pretty well made. They take you through the OAuth 2 stuff, which I'll show that code in a moment. You get some good information. You can look up, you can query by location. They pretty much wrote this API as though they needed it for their own apps, which I'm sure they do use it. It's pretty nice. Like, it's exactly what you'd want. You say, I'm going to give you a zip code. I'm going to give you a miles limit, and then you're going to tell me all the stores that are in that area. Very nice, actually. And yeah, so I do have a feature in the app for that. And then also you can grab product information. And the thing that have made me the happiest in the last like month probably is I was looking at this product information. I saw, okay, product search, that's cool. I can give it a term, and it does a fuzzy search based on the term, which is perfect, because if a user's inputting items into the list, they're probably not saying Doritos, Totios, whatever. They're probably saying chips. So you can do the fuzzy search, and what you get back, I saw this magical term here, aisle locations, and I opened it, and then I opened it again because it's not right, and then and I saw this beautiful information about exactly where things are at in the store. How accurate is this? We'll find out. But if it is accurate, it's insane, because they even give you the shelf number. So I'm envisioning, I take that information, store it on the item, and then a user, they walk to the aisle, and then they can tap a button, say, I still don't see it or something. And then I can maybe even point them to the exact shelf it's on, the bay it's on in the aisle itself. Hell, I don't know. Maybe you could do something cool with location stuff, or like, I don't know, like sensors in the phone or something to say, oh no, you're still up above it, you need to go down, whatever. There might be some kind of magical stuff we can do there. So that's actually really cool that they give you that information to that detail. So, but yeah, that's the Kroger API. It's actually really sick. And so I started to write code around it. So let's look at that. So the first thought I had was, well, I need a API service. And so I wrote one using HTTP client, basic stuff. I created this access token response. And actually, I put a bunch of models in here. Sorry, it's a little small, but I put a bunch of models in an API folder to kind of keep them separated. I assume this is what most people, when they're writing C#.NET stuff, do when they're doing APIs, is they create classes around the JSON that you would get back, because this JSON deserializer seems to work well with classes. So it makes kind of sense. Plus you can do JSON paste as a class, which is really nice. So, but anyways, I had to create a bunch of classes for the possible responses, which is okay. I mean, I don't super like it, because it kind of, I don't know, like, this is ugly code for one thing. Like, why is there a class called Saturday? What does that mean? I think it's actually their hours, but I created these objects and I'm using them and it's fine. But I feel like later on that might be annoying, just to have a 1,500 classes or whatever in this API folder, but it is what it is. So each of those kind of correspond to a response I can get back from the API. So I created an API config object. I'm using my keys I got from the website. I'll say, if you're going to use Kroger's website, again, flash warning, you can go to manage. I'm not going to click it now because it'll show you my keys. I don't want to show you that. But you can sign up for an account, and then it's very easy. You just tell them, hey, I'm building an app and I'm testing some stuff, and in some text box, and they immediately approve it and you're good. They give you a client ID and something else. I forget what they call it. It's the basic OAuth 2 stuff that you would normally see. So there's two pieces, and this code in here basically formulates, client ID and client secret. That's what it is. So I put those in a JSON file, and then I'm just reading it in. That's what startup config is doing, and it returns this API config object, and then that's used later on. So then we pass it. So I've got this set auth tokens method, which is literally doing what it sounds like. If our auth token is expired, and the way I'm doing that was datetime now compared to an expire time that's set once we get one. As long as we actually do need one, then we come in here and grab it. The reason I'm doing that at all is because you are limited to 5,000 requests a day. So, I don't want to request a token every single time for no reason. Yeah, so I'm going in here and I'm doing all this stuff. I'm setting the authorization on the default request headers on the HTTP request object. So it's actually kind of nice. I've not done much REST stuff in C#. I will be at work, but yeah, I haven't done much stuff yet, but it's actually pretty intuitive and easy. I had to Google a few times, but it's not the end of the world. I'm doing a grant type of client credentials, which is important. On the Kroger API, there's basically two types of grants. There's client credentials, and then there's like a authorization one that basically, if you were to authorize to get data access for a specific user in their system, you would need to do it that way. Client credentials is essentially, I'm an application and I want data from you guys from the API, and there's no need for like a user's information. So this is all like generic stuff. So it's good. That's exactly what we want. So let's see. So post async, posting all that, and I'm getting back a token, and I deserialize it and I create this access token request, and then and then that token is stored here, and then I use it for the other calls. Great. All right, so the next thing I want to show, get location near zip. You pass a zip and you pass the API config, and it builds a query, does the query, what you would think it would do. And I will say, in their database, they actually have many different stores, I assume around the country. Kroger is just kind of the name I think they use in the South and the Midwest, and maybe like California or something. But yeah, so at the moment, I'm just filtering for only the Krogers. What I was getting back at first was a bunch of gas stations, because apparently they'll even tell you what gas stations are near their Kroger. I guess like if they're owned by the same people or something. So I just kept getting a bunch of BP, Shell. I was like, what the hell is this? So yeah, that's why I'm filtering for all caps Kroger. All right, so I will show this code working in a moment. All right, and then get product info, basic stuff. So what kind of search term are we doing? What's our location ID? And then again, the API config to pass the token, or sorry, access token passes the token. API config gives us our URL and our query information and stuff. Okay, so yeah, same thing. I mean, it's REST code. And right now I'm just grabbing the first bit of information for the aisle. I created a new model since last time we talked. It's called item location data. At the moment, I'm not actually even storing it in the database. I'm just building it when we do these calls. And that's if I want to do something more specific beyond just the IO location description. So that's what that is. So yeah, that's the API code. It's very basic. And then to see it in action, we would go here. Oh, sorry. No, we would go here. This is where you input an item, and that's where we would populate the item information. And yeah, so it's very basic. I just make sure and do these 3 calls just in case we haven't done them yet. It's whatever. It's kind of a waste of code, but it's fine. And then we do the thing. And the location I'm using is from preferences.get Kroger location. That is set in the settings. So if I go back here, just in settings, this is just something I threw in here for testing. Default Kroger location, and then it has a name. I put in a zip code in Dallas, and let me show you that real quick. All right, so yeah, let me put in a zip code, and I'll press enter, and then a bunch of stores come up. So these are all the stores within a 25-mile radius of the zip code I input. Pretty neat. So then I can just make one, and it'll save it off. So that's very nice. All right. So yeah, that's the Kroger location stuff, and I talked through the product stuff as well. Let me talk about some of the difficulties I've had. A lot of times, if you're making an app framework, I kind of expect it to do things magically and all the time and make it to where your code is fairly you don't have to do a bunch of special stuff. I understand that if you're doing like weird stuff in an app, not normal stuff, beyond just like listing objects or editing data, anything beyond that, I get that you're going to have some special things in there that it can't handle. But there are some instances in here where I thought things should work one way and they did not. And then it took a bunch of Googling to figure out how they should work. So the good news is once you figure them out, you have a backup for when things don't work. But so the first thing I will mention is I had a checkbox. We have a checkbox in the app. If I move here, you can see, so these items have checkboxes. The thing about checkbox is I would have expected that when you click it, you can bind it to something in the view model, but for whatever reason, and it might be because of my binding, it might be because of, I don't know, something, I wasn't able to do that. I had to use this check change, which only takes in this kind of event thing. And so I had to create an on checkbox click event handler inside of the code behind. Ideally, I'm trying to minimize the amount of code in the code behind as possible because I'm really trying to stick to the MVVM model. And this kind of goes against that in a little bit of a way. But honestly, I mean, it's still not that bad. This is still all UI work. So it's still in the views. So does that, I think that's probably fine. But anyways, long story short, I wasn't expecting to have to do this. And then I did. So let me show you what I did. Basically, I got, you get the sender, and the sender is going to be your checkbox. So you cast it to a checkbox. Cool. And then I also needed the frame because when I click this, I want to animate the frame like so. What I had to do there, kind of a little workaround, is I had to binding context and use a reference binding. And so what that is up here in my frame, I created this xname item frame, and then I can reference that and create and set the binding context of the checkbox to the reference item frame. And so that allows me to grab the binding context of the checkbox, and now I have access to the frame. Very cool. And that's what I wanted to animate. So that's what this code here is doing. It's just doing a fade. So that's how I got the frame. And then I also needed the item. So you can kind of layer these up to where you can go up the chain and grab items by setting binding context in that way. The frame's binding context is just period because I needed the item from the collection view, the item that we're actually in. So, and because we're in this data template, that is going to be period. So the item is equal period. So when I grab the binding context of the frame, now I have my item. I needed that information as well to set the is completed and then to do the item was checked call. So yeah, that's how I did the on checkbox clicked method. Again, I wish I didn't have to, and it's possible I don't actually have to. And if you do know how I can move that code to the view model, or even if I should, I mean, like I said, it's still touching a lot of the view. and it is the view code, so maybe it's okay. But I guess I just wasn't expecting that because I had not seen a case in the kind of tutorials and stuff I watched. I'd not seen a case where they had to do that. Expectations versus reality, if you will. All right, so the next big thing I had to deal with was observable collections and collection view. And I still don't know the answer to this one. But for a while there, user list was a observable property, just like this is. It had that tag in it, and that is part of the community toolkit MVVM package. And what it does is it generates a bunch of code, and it basically gives you all these on property change stuff that you can play with, or it does it automatically for you. And so that way, when your thing happens, when your data changes, it automatically notifies anything that's bound to it in the view, for instance. So it's very nice. But if you ever want to do anything more than just the data changed update stuff, you have to kind of do it yourself. I guess I was expecting a way to do this, and I actually did sort of find a way to do this. And it was with the community toolkit.mvvm version 8.0.0, which is not even, it's like a preview version. In fact, I can pull up NuGet and show you actually do need to click include pre-release to even grab it from the area. But what you're looking for is community toolkit.mvvm, and you want the 8.0 version. It'll be a preview version. Unless you're watching this way in the future, then it might not be. But and that's going to break a bunch of your code, because the previous versions before that had, instead of relay command, they all said I command. Those tags have been renamed to relay command. I think it's because it's more accurate in terms of what it's describing. And then there's another change. I think it's with the also notify property, whatever. If you have that in the code, which I did, I actually ended up taking it out because I wasn't using it. But if you have that in the code, that name also changed. So some things changed. Once you fix all those, it's pretty good though. And it's worth updating, if only just because what they give you is part of that change was, now when you have a observable property, it actually creates a partial method that you can use. Do I have one in here? Yeah. Well, this used to be it. I'll explain why it's not in a moment. But this used to be a partial method, and what they give you, if you do an observable property tag now, it gives you a partial method that's partial void on the name of the thing changed. So in this case, this used to be one. It said on user list changed. So it gives you that partial method, and then you can hook it in. And basically what it is anytime the observable property changes, you can fire the on x changed method and update it or do something. In my case, what I wanted to do was sort the list. I put that code in there, and it was working okay. The problem was I think I need a little more than that, because what's happening is, as I think I said earlier, the collection view is not sorting until the whole view is refreshed. So if I pull up the app again, I click on this, it's sorted, right? But if I click something, it does not sort, even though this code fires when I do that. And in this code, I'm sorting. I've got this, which I'll talk about in a second. I'm doing another sort just in case. I'm doing on property change stuff because I really, really want the collection view to know that I've done something and update, but it's not. So I don't know what I'm missing there. If you do know, please let me know in the comments, because it's been very frustrating. But if I click this and I come out and then I come back in, now it's sorted again, which makes sense. So the way I think I need to work around this, and I will update in the next video if this actually works, but I believe I need an observable collection, and it seems that observable collection will trigger the thing that's bound to it if an add, a remove, or just a recreation of the object happens. I would think if for instance on this user list change, which comes from queries and stuff, if I sort the items and then I clear out my observable collection, and then I go through and I loop through and I add all the items back in, that should update the observable collection enough to where collection view will be like, oh, I need to change. The problem is, will it still change when you're viewing it? I don't think so. And that's weird and frustrating, because there should be kind of a built-in way for things to just sort while you're looking at them, right? And maybe there isn't, I'm just missing it. But I've spent a good amount of time looking through docs, looking through Stack Overflow posts, and just cannot figure it out. But The good news is it is not incredibly vital at the moment that I figure this out. So I've sort of moved on. That's why the code is like half updated, but not, we're still in the view model. We're still, sorry, this one. We're still using the old usual list.items instead of the observable collection, because honestly, I think I've moved on. So, but that's another frustrating thing that I found, that I don't understand why it's happening. You would think the amount of times I've notified collection view that, hey, things updated, dog, that it would update, but it's not. So, okay. So those are the two big things that worked, not how I thought they would. There's been others too. I need to take better notes as I write this code, as I encounter them. But there's definitely been other stuff too that I thought, like, why is it doing that? Like, so anyways, all right. That's been the look at the code I've updated so far. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do in the next video. All right. Thank you so much. If you made it this far in the video, you're a saint. Sometimes I have trouble listening to me rant, but anyways, so highly appreciate it. I just want to talk real quick about the next video. I'm going to cover these sorting algorithms, and I'm going to, in the meantime, try to come up with some. I have some ideas. Some of them may involve machine learning. So now that I've got the Kroger API up and running, I could probably get a lot of data if I wanted to from different stores and compile that data down, and then somehow figure out how we can order it. So I'm going to play with that. We may end up not doing a machine learning thing. I may literally just go into a Kroger with my lists and walk around and see if I can figure out how best to path it. And some of that sorting in the beginning may just be kind of faking it till we make it. I mean, as long as a user's list is roughly in the right order, then they're okay. Like, as long as, you put something in and it moves up to the third slot, even though it's actually the first thing you want to do when you walk in, that's okay. You still see it and you can still just click it. So the good news about the sorting algorithm is we just need to be close enough. We don't need to be perfect. So that's wonderful news, because we will not be perfect. Every store is different. There's a Kroger near me that all of their aisles are split in half. So there's like a half section over here and a half section over here. And, are those different aisles? I don't know. I don't know. I have to go look at that store and see. We're going to work on that sorting algorithm in the meantime. We might do some live coding stuff. Maybe I'll do that on Twitch, which is below in the description if you want to join me on there. I don't stream a lot, but I stream some live coding stuff every now and then. So I'd appreciate a follow on there. So we're going to do that, and then I will talk through what I did in the next video. And yeah, we're going to keep this train rolling. I really want to get this app together. Get everyone kind of a good example of the things I hit and the things I did. And at some point at the end of this, I'm going to go through and annotate all the code as well, because I think that's huge for learning. So if you're new to .NET Maui development, if you're new to .NET development in general, and you're just interested in the new Microsoft App Framework, then my goal is really to put together something that will help you kind of create what you want to create, if it's a basic list app. So thank you very much. I appreciate you watching. If you would, hit the like button, whatever, all that jazz. Up above me, let me look at my screen. So up there is going to be my OpenCV playlist. If you enjoy .NET and you want something kind of cool, fun to play with, OpenCV is a great library and the MGU wrapper for C#. So I would highly recommend checking that out, because that stuff's really fun. Over there is going to be the Dev Level Up series. So these are like little bite-sized videos that can kind of cover some gaps that you may have not picked up on your learning journey. And yeah, so anyways, thanks very much. Talk to you next time. Bye.